discovered. Spine-chilling Reddit tales of the haunted and cursed. Unexplained secrets exposed. Jenna's heart raced as she stared, wide-eyed, at the message on her phone. "You have no idea what's happening in your neighborhood," it read ominously, the shadow of a threat hovering just beneath the surface. What was supposed to be a peaceful suburb, filled with smiling neighbors and idyllic parks, suddenly felt like a web of dark secrets, waiting to ensnare her. She flicked her gaze to her children, oblivious to the bone-chilling undercurrent in their once comforting Maplewood home. "Keep your kids close," the message warned. "You can't trust anyone." The suspense wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. Each morning began with a sense of dread as she passed Steve and Rachel's house next door. Their perfect lawn now felt tainted. Popular at block parties, the couple had always been friendly, but the whispers in the digital dark hinted at a gambling ring lurking in their basement. How could it be true? Jenna shook her head in disbelief, her palms slick with sweat. This wasn't some ghost story, this was her life. Her neighborhood. As the sun set and shadows danced between the trees lining the streets, a creeping unease settled in her bones. The night shift had her returning home late, and the atmosphere around her house shifted. Jenna noticed shadows flickering past her windows, whispers curling along the breeze, leaving behind a gnawing sense of being watched, feeling hunted. Just last night, she caught her children whispering about a friend they had yet to name. They giggled, cheeks flushed with excitement, but Jenna felt the pit in her stomach twist. Who was this friend? Her sister Lily's unexpected visit had added a brief flicker of normalcy to their fractured lives. But that light faded when Jenna woke the next morning to find her sister gone. Panic propelled her to run through the quiet streets, each familiar face suddenly masked with suspicion. What if Jeff, the lovable community volunteer, couldn't be trusted? The chilling message told her all she needed to know. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The next note slipped under her door, froze her soul. "Trust is a dangerous game, Jenna. You have no idea what lies beneath." She could hardly breathe. The suburban paradise she had clung to was becoming a nightmare, the unmasking of darkness lurking within her community's charming facade. Jenna felt the walls close in around her. The sour taste of betrayal slithered through her mind as she realized her whole world may just be a grotesque masquerade. Her gut churned with fear as Jenna turned back toward her children's laughter filtering through the house, twisting it into something sinister. The air was thick with tension, and every step was like edging on quicksand. What if the true monsters were those who looked like you and me? As the last glimmers of sunlight faded behind the horizon, the chilling thought settled loudly in her mind. Trust no one. It resonated like thunder as she braced for the storm of horror that was coming for her, lurking behind the friendly smiles and neatly trimmed hedges of Maplewood. Jenna could hardly stand still as the shadows lengthened, her heart drumming violently against her ribs. She felt trapped in a nightmare that squeezed tighter with every whisper of the wind. Laughter echoed from the children's room, endlessly innocent and blissfully unaware of the threat creeping through their lives. But what haunted Jenna was not just the fear of her neighbor's duplicity. No, it was the unnerving thought that her children knew something she didn't. Hours passed, and as dusk settled, the cracks and creaks of the house transformed into a whole other language, one of dread and foreboding. She couldn't shake the feeling that eyes watched her through the glass panes, always lurking just out of sight. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her phone and dialed Lily's number, but there was no answer. The comforting sound of her sister's voice had turned to static, leaving Jenna alone with her chaotic fears. Just a few more days, she whispered to herself, hoping she could gather the courage needed to confront whatever was lingering at the edges of her reality. She padded softly to her children's room, the door slightly ajar. Peeking through, she saw them sitting close together on the rug, their backs to her. They were animated, motioning wildly with their hands, laughter spilling out like a secret. Jenna's chest tightened. "Who are you talking to?" she asked, stepping cautiously inside. Both children spun around, their faces flushed, eyes wide. "Just Mia," her youngest piped up, grinning widely. Jenna's heart plummeted, a chill wrapping around her spine. Who was Mia? Had they invented an imaginary friend or perhaps something worse? "Is she like a playmate, honey?" Jenna probed, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. "Yeah." Her daughter's excitement flared. "She plays hide and seek. Mommy. She is super fun." Jenna's heart raced as images of the elusive child, Mia, flooded her mind. A shimmering apparition or a lurking ghost? "Have you seen her?" Jenna asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "She always hides, but we know where she goes." They chimed in unison, their creepy enthusiasm sending alarms ringing in Jenna's head. Unchecked terror spiraled inside her. "Okay, but you need to remember something. You should never go alone, all right? You trust Mommy and Daddy." They laughed again, a sound filled with innocence but tinged with something darker. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, casting strange shadows on the wall. Jenna's heart dropped. She felt a pull from the darkness, as though it beckoned her to behold unspeakable truths. The power cut out, plunging them into an unsettling darkness. Night crept in like a living thing, wrapping around them. In the quiet, she heard a faint giggle echo through the hall. A giggle that wasn't her children's. "Mommy." Her daughter's voice yanked her mind back to the present. "Mia wants to play outside." "No," Jenna blurted, panic surging as she rushed to the window. "What did they mean? You stay right here." She pressed her forehead to the glass, peering into the blackness beyond. The neighborhood was shrouded in a suffocating silence, except for the distant rustle of leaves, and the lingering sound of whispers, so easily mistaken for the breeze. "Mia." Her son's voice called from behind her, heart stopping in its innocent fear. "Mia, come back." Jenna spun around, blood roaring in her ears. "You can't call for her. We don't know who she is." But before she could finish, the children's eyes widened further, their gazes locked on something behind her. She felt goosebumps rise along her arms as she turned, dread coiling in her stomach. The faint outline of a girl stood at the end of the hallway, just beyond the sliver of light spilling from the children's room. Her hair hung like dark tendrils, swaying with no breeze. A sinister smile danced on her lips. The last glimmer of shadow collapsed around Jenna, the darkness whispering her name as an unsettling truth settled into her bones. "Mia?" And in that moment, Jenna understood some games are not meant to be played and some friends should never be invited. What Jenna didn't know was, Mia was waiting for her. The invitation was already extended, and the door was slowly creaking open. The hallway seemed to stretch infinitely, swallowing the light from the children's room. Jenna's breath quickened, every gasping gasp echoing against the walls. The girl with the dark tendrils for hair stood like a specter, impossibly still, her smile wide and unsettling. "Mia." The name tasted bitter on Jenna's tongue, a warning buried deep within the syllables. The children giggled behind her, the laughter filling the tight space like a thick fog. "Mia wants to play," they shouted, their innocent voices clashing with the sinister energy of the girl before them. "No," Jenna snapped, instinctively stepping forward, her heart racing. "You don't understand. She is not just a game." But her words were swallowed by the growing anticipation in the room. Mia's eyes sparkled with mischief, and the shadows around her seemed alive, pulsating, ready to consume Jenna whole. She took a step back, but the weight of the atmosphere pressed against her, paralyzing her in fear. "Come play with us, Mommy," her daughter called, oblivious to the danger, her innocence a painful reminder of what was at stake. "Mia's really fun." Jenna's heartbeat pounded in her ears, wild and frantic. Play? What kind of game was this? A chill snaked down her spine, and a sliver of anger pierced through her fear. "No, we're not playing." Mia's laughter, soft yet menacing, filled the air. You don't want to play? She teased, tilting her head while stepping closer into the flickering light. No, get away, Jenna shouted, desperation clawing at her voice. She couldn't make sense of it. There had to be a way to protect them. She scanned the darkness, searching for some path of escape that didn't involve the haunted gaze of this girl. Mia's our friend. The children chimed in unison, their joy a hollow mockery of her horror. They circled around Mia, their tiny hands reaching out, as if welcoming her into their world. The happiness in their faces sent a fresh wave of panic coursing through Jenna. Mia isn't a friend. Jenna roared, her voice rattling the windows. She is dangerous. You have to listen to me. But the shadows thickened, swirling together to form a barrier that squeezed the air from her lungs. Suddenly, the playful giggles morphed into shrill shrieks, echoing wildly off the walls. Jenna stumbled back, and Mia's smile widened, sharp and hungry. Mia says you're not playing fair. The dark girl's voice was soft, like silk dipped in poison. Isn't that right, kids? Yes, they responded, their mirth suddenly turning to something darker, something that made the air feel electric. Jenna's heart ached as their eyes flared with an unsettling excitement. Stop! You don't know what she is. But they didn't listen. Mia stepped forward again, the shadows parting around her, revealing her in all her terrifying glory. Let us play hide and seek, she crooned, the words curling around Jenna like a noose, tightening with every syllable. But this time, Mommy, you hide too. Everything fell silent, and Jenna's breath hitched painfully in her throat. She felt a cold gust of wind rush past her, almost like a warning. There was no escaping it, no running. The children were caught in a blissful trance, infested by something far beyond their comprehension. Jenna turned, desperation coloring every fiber of her being. Kids, listen to me. You have to come back. Her voice was pleading now, a mother's instinct fighting against the consuming darkness closing in. Mia's eyes danced with an otherworldly light as she pointed toward the far end of the hallway. You'll have to catch me first, Mommy. The hallway seemed to pulsate, drawing Jenna deeper into the nightmarish game. The invitation was open, and the door slammed shut behind her, the laughter of children mingling with the creaking wood and the soft whispers of shadows dancing at the edges of her sanity. What kind of game had she just entered? Would she be able to find her children in the darkness, or would she join them in their twisted play? Just as Jenna took a step forward, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the reality she never wanted to face. And there, at the edge of the light, Mia stood, a dark promise of what was to come. Mia! But the girl was already giggling, fading back into the shadows, her laughter echoing, leaving Jenna with only one question. How was she going to save her children from something that wanted them more than anything else? The chase was about to begin. Fear gripped Jenna as reality twisted around her. The hallway loomed ever larger, a dark maw eager to swallow her whole. The flickering lights cast strange shadows that danced like ghosts, morphing with every heartbeat. The tangled laughter of her children merged with Mia's eerie giggle, creating a symphony of madness that threatened to unhinge her mind. Catch me if you can. Mia's voice floated back, teasing and taunting, drawing Jenna deeper into the void. No, she whispered, desperation flooding her veins. The children's faces, once bright, now seemed to glow with an unnatural fervor, their eyes wide and unblinking as they chanted, "Let us play, Mommy." Jenna took a shaky step forward. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, yet she felt rooted, as if the shadows had latched onto her feet, binding her to the ground. "I will find you," she called out against the growing dread. Didn't know whether she was reassuring herself or warning the spectral entity that had ensnared her children. "Mommy, hurry." Her son's voice rang clear, cutting through the haze, a flicker of hope within a storm of despair. Adrenaline surged as she pushed against the weight of the darkness. With each step toward the end of the hallway, the air thickened until it felt suffocating, a creeping sensation at the back of her neck as if something were watching her from just behind the veil of shadows. Mia. She had to find a way to exorcise that name from her children's lips. May would never forgive her if she let this thing take them. Suddenly, Laughter erupted from somewhere down the hall, sharp and grating. Jenna's heart raced. "Where are you?" she shouted, fear morphing into determination. "Found you." The children squealed, their voices reverberating off the walls. But the laughter wasn't joyous. It felt like a death knell, signaling the end of innocence. Jenna raised her head, scanning the shadows, but Mia had vanished. A sudden chill pricked the air, and Jenna turned, heart hammering in her chest. There, just behind her in the encroaching blackness, stood Mia, her face partially hidden beneath the waves of dark hair. "You're it," she sang, her voice a twisted melody. Jenna recoiled. "Get away from them." Mia's expression shifted, excitement mixing with something darker. "Will you play? Or will you ignore my invite? Choose, mommy." Every instinct screamed to run. Yet something in her, the sheer urgency of maternal instinct, demanded she confront the darkness. "I will not let you have them," Jenna shouted, her voice cracking under the pressure of the chilling reality. But the shadows moved with an intent of their own, shifting as if Mia commanded them. The walls began to pulse, an intoxicating rhythm that resonated with Jenna's fear, breaking her resolve. She had to play along to distract Mia, to buy time for her children. Okay, let us play," she forced herself to say, sweating under the weight of the night. "But let us make it interesting." Mia's eyes widened, their depths swirling with malicious curiosity. "Interesting how?" Jenna took a deep breath, steeling herself. "If I win, you let my kids go. If you win, well, you can have me." The shadows shifted, closing in on Jenna, trapping her words like a spider spins its web. "Deal?" Mia whispered, and the ancient promise hung heavy in the air, almost tangible. Before she could rethink, the rules took form. "Count to 20, and then come find us," Mia chirped, a wicked grin splitting her face. Jenna nodded, fear clawing at her insides, and then Mia started counting. The world around her blurred as she turned to grab a sliver of hope. It was now or never. She raced back down the hallway, desperate to reach her children before they became pawns in this cruel game. "Where are you?" she yelled, panic surging and crashing inside her. Silence. Only silence responded. Jenna could feel it, the weight of 1,000 eyes watching her from the corners of the shadows. And then a whisper almost brushed past her ear, sending an icy shiver down her entire spine. Playtime is just beginning. Had she entered into a game she couldn't win? The fear was palpable. Would she be able to outwit something that thrived on fear? Or was she already trapped in a nightmare of her own making? Just as she drew closer to the room, the lights flickered again, more vibrant this time. Jenna's heart stopped. A shattering scream echoed faintly, sending adrenaline spiking through her. "Mia!" But the shadows called. Would she find her children or draw them deeper into the darkness? The clock was ticking down, and every second felt like an eternity of damnation. Could she bear the truth if she uncovered what lay hidden in the madness? She pressed forward, despair clawing deeper into the abyss. The air around Jenna felt thick and heavy, as if the darkness had substance, gripping her like a vice. She stumbled forward, fighting against the oppressive weight that threatened to crush her spirit. Each step echoed, reverberating through the hollow space, blending with the whispers that seemed to skitter around her like unseen creatures. "Mia!" she called again, desperation sharpening her voice. What if the chilling laughter was her final memory of her children? The shadows writhed, consuming the light. The hallway stretched endlessly before her, a snake swallowing its own tail. Jenna had to push on, driven by an instinct she had fought for years. The need to protect. "Mia, where are you?" Another flicker of light revealed movement at the end of the corridor. A shadow darted. Jenna's pulse quickened. No, please." The urge to sprint into the dark consumed her, but she hesitated, glancing around for her kids, their faces suddenly becoming grotesque masks of dread in her mind, etched in shadow and fear. "Mommy, we're here." Her son's voice broke through the oppressive silence, youthful and fragile. It crumbled her resolve like dust between her fingers. She raced toward the sound, heart hammering like a drum in her chest. Stay where you are. She screamed, her throat raw from fear and pleading. Suddenly, laughter rippled through the darkness, pealing like bells chiming for a funeral. You think they're safe? Mia's voice crawled from the shadows, devilish and sweet. They know where I am. Do you know where they are? Jenna's breath caught. They could be anywhere. The dark had swallowed them whole. I won't let you take them. Anger replaced fear, fueling her haste. I promise you, Mia. Promises? Mia laughed, the sound deforming into howls of malice. Let us put that to the test. Jenna felt the walls inching closer, the air tightening around her throat like a noose. She churned through the sinister hallway, the fluorescent lights flickering erratically, a countdown to her doom. Moments before she could slip into madness, she reached a door partially ajar, its edges framed by a thin red light that pulsed like a heartbeat. With the shadow of Mia trailing behind her laughter, she flung the door wide open. Inside, the room was eerily calm, yet charged with an electricity that made the hairs on her arms stand. Empty but for a single chair in the center, facing a blank wall that pulsed in rhythm with her own frantic heart. Where are they? She shouted, spinning around, half expecting to find them cackling in sinister glee. But it was just the chair, still and waiting, as though it held answers she desperately sought. Are you ready to play, Mommy? Mia's voice fluttered close again, the dark entity teasingly out of sight. Stop playing games. Jenna screamed, collapsing to her knees, pressing her palms to the floor. Felt cold, like the grave. Silence answered her, but not for long. An agonizing scream pierced her heart from behind the wall, echoing with terror. No, please. It was her daughter this time, shrill and breathless. The sound sliced through Jenna's fear, igniting a primal rage. Every corner of her being screamed for her to stand and fight. I'm coming, she roared, pulling herself up, ready to confront whatever horror lay within the darkness. Mia, show yourself. Come play, Mommy. Mia sang, her voice layered with evil delight. Jenna felt tethered to that voice, unable to resist the pull. The lights flickered again, shadowy forms shifting behind her, their whispers swirling dangerously in the air. Waves of dread crashed over her as realization sank deep. Mia drew her into a dreadful trap, feeding on her turmoil. Just as Jenna steeled herself to face whatever lurked in the shadows, the lights went out, plunging her into an abyss blackness darker than before. The screams of her children echoed within her mind, a haunting chorus of despair. She was trapped. The deeper she pressed, the more the shadows wrapped around her, suffocating her hope. With one last breath, she gritted her teeth. No more games. In that moment of defiance, she could sense something shift, a teetering balance between light and darkness waiting on a precipice. What would she find in this hellish game? Mommy, we're scared. The call came from all around her, drowning out the echo of Mia's laughter. Jenna's heart sank as she realized they were closer than she thought. Was she truly prepared to face the dark truth waiting on the other side? Her hand trembled as it reached for the door again, the world swirling in horrifying uncertainty. Time was up, and whatever lay beyond would demand more than she was willing to give. As the darkness loomed, the final chilling whisper filled the room. Let us see if you can find them before it's too late. The darkness felt alive, crawling over Jenna's skin like icy fingers. She couldn't breathe. Panic surged through her, threatening to tear her apart. The familiar sounds of her children's voices twisted around her, echoing in a way that danced along the edge of sanity. Mommy, please, they were close, too close, and yet so far. Shadows flitted just beyond her vision, taunting her like a game. With trembling fingers, she gripped the edge of the door. Every fiber of her being urged her to turn and run, but that maternal instinct clawed at her, propelling her forward into the depths of her fear. Give them back, she shouted into the thick silence. The room felt impossibly vast and yet stifling, a labyrinth of horror built from her own nightmares. The red light pulsed, its rhythm matching the frantic beating of her heart, guiding her deeper into the abyss. Mia, show yourself. Each word was a plea, a desperate attempt to tether herself to reality. Laughter echoed, chilling her bones. "Mommy, Mommy, you still think you can save them?" The sound reverberated off the walls, curling around her like smoke. The air grew colder. Shadows danced along her periphery, bearing the shapes of twisted figures that lurked just beyond her sight. She could hear them whispering secrets, their voices a mix of her children's laughter and something darker, something that sent shivers racing down her spine. "Mommy, help, we're scared." Horror lanced through her. She knew that voice. Mia. Desperation clawed at her throat. "Where are you?" "Mommy, just come play, we're waiting." This time, the voice was smooth, dripping with malice. Jenna fought against the growing dread, the insidious pull urging her to give in. This isn't a game. As she stepped further into the room, her foot hit something soft, a plush toy. Their teddy bear, its fur matted and cold. A sick wave of nausea flooded over her as she bent down, fingers brushing the toy's face, the last trace of normalcy she had left. "What have you done?" she whispered, terror clawing its way up her spine. "Mia." Before she could react, the floor beneath her trembled, echoing with the low hum of gathering shadows. The red light flickered violently, illuminating grotesque faces locked in silent screams. Jenna stumbled back, the toy slipping from her grasp. "No, no," she backed away from the door, more shadows twisting, creeping towards her like a tide of despair. The laughter faded, and in its place, she heard the muffled cries of her children, trapped behind the very walls that closed in on her. "Mommy, help!" Her heart raced as she turned, seeking some way out. But the walls were closing in, pulsing, mocking her futile attempts to escape. "You can't leave, Mommy. You invited us." It was the voice again, folding around her as the shadows thickened. Jenna looked up, meeting the pulsating gaze of the wall. It felt as if it were breathing, drawing her into its depths. "Tell me where they are. I'll do anything," she screamed, realizing too late that she was bargaining with a monster. The shadows shrieked in delight, a storm of laughter swirling in her ears. "Anything? Let us see how far you'll go." Jenna's feet faltered as a tremor ran through her. A flicker of light caught her eye, a small filament pulsing above the chair. It emitted a faint hope, yet was swallowed almost immediately by the encroaching darkness. With desperate resolve, she sprinted toward it, praying it would guide her to her children. But as her hand reached for the light, it extinguished, plunging her once more into despair. And in the silence as her heart shattered, Mia's voice rang out clear. "Let us play a different game, Mommy, because time is running out." Jenna's breath hitched. This was no longer about finding her children. It was about surviving the darkness itself. Could she outsmart something that thrived on fear? As dread settled in for the long haul, the room began to twist around her. Could she bear the price of truth if it meant salvation? Before she could answer, the shadows rushed forward, a wall of terror. "What will you sacrifice?" As she felt herself slipping away, a glimmer of possibility crashed through the silence. "You win." But was it too late to escape the maze her daughter had weaved? The air thickened, suffocating her in dark tendrils. Jenna's heart raced as the shadows lashed out, no longer mere wisps but writhing, clawing entities of despair. She staggered back, panic clawing at her throat. "What do you want from me? Show us your fear, Mommy," they crooned, their voices merging into a sick symphony of echoes. She pressed her palms against her ears, trying to drown them out, but the laughter morphed into shrieks, piercing through her resolve. The red light flickered once more, revealing grotesque faces twisted in agony. Each flicker felt like a countdown, the shadows inching closer with every pulse. The room spun around her as memories flashed by, Mia's laughter filling the air, her small hands clutching a teddy bear, the way she'd smile when they played hide and seek. Every joyful echo was stained with the darkness, twisted into a mockery that made Jenna want to scream. "No, I won't let you take them," she shouted, trying to reclaim her strength. "I'll fight." "You think you're strong?" The shadows turned, forming into a figure, a grotesque imitation of Mia. Its eyes sparkled with malice as it grinned, showing rows of needle-like teeth. But Mommy, we're the ones who hold the cards. You're the game now. A surge of fury broke through the dread. Jenna lunged forward, grasping the nearest object, a sharp shard of glass glittering among the debris scattered across the floor. She held it like a weapon. Get away from me. The figure mocked her, stepping closer, its laughter echoing like a death knell. You can't hurt us. We're a part of you. Jenna stumbled backward, breath hitching. The walls pulsed as if they were alive, tightening around her, whispering secrets of despair. Each heartbeat bounced off the walls, quickening the rhythm of the shadows. The rooms had become prisons, each designed from her own fear. Think she'll sacrifice herself? One of the mocking figures hissed. To save them? Mommy, don't leave us. Another voice cried, but it sounded like a trap, luring her closer to the maw of darkness. Jenna felt her resolve teeter, and she shook her head, fighting against the urge to surrender. I won't let you win, she yelled, desperation fueling her actions. But every word felt hollow as the mocking laughter surged around her. A cacophony of rising panic until she could barely think. Shadows darted in and out of sight, whispering, gesturing, as if debating her fate. It's too late, they crooned. No, I will save them. I can't let you take them. In a moment of clarity, Jenna remembered the teddy bear, the last thread connecting her to her children. If I give you something, will you let them go? She blurted, feigning confidence. A pause. The shadows leaned in, intrigued. What will you give, oh desperate one? I'll give you my fear, Jenna proposed, raw determination coursing through her. I'll own it. Just give me my kids back. The laughter faltered. Fear, you say? That's amusing. But are you certain you can bear the weight? Yes, she shouted, her voice steadying. A hush fell. The shadows swirled, contemplating the offer. And in that silence, dread wormed its way into Jenna's heart again. What if they took her fear but still kept her children? What if she was making a deal with horrors she couldn't comprehend? As the wind howled outside, shadows twisted in anticipation. Then let us see you in action, and just like that, something shifted. The walls began to hum ominously, vibrating under the weight of her own dread. Prepare to face your greatest nightmare, Mommy. A chill gripped her spine, and Jenna realized she was standing at the cliff of sacrifice. Would she truly have the power to vanquish the darkness? In that moment of sickening stillness, the walls loomed in closer, emblazoned with whispered secrets, and a realization cracked her armor of bravery. What if the greatest horror was yet to reveal itself? In the emptiness that followed, a new voice emerged, a haunting melody that reverberated in her mind. What if you never escape? Jenna's heart plunged into the pit of despair as realization dawned. Her pact may carry a much heavier price than she fathomed. The darkness was a part of her, and to lose everything, she would have to embrace it. Could she handle that kind of truth? As the shadows reached for her once more, Jenna took a deep breath, ready to face whatever horrors lay ahead. But would she still be herself when it was over? The walls vibrated with a sinister hum, and Jenna's heart thudded in her chest as the shadows coiled tighter around her. It was almost suffocating. Each breath felt like a struggle against an invisible weight bearing down. She squinted, scanning her monstrous surroundings, desperate for a way out, but every corner loomed darker than the last. Face your fear, Mommy, the shadows chanted, their voices merging into a grotesque choir, harmonizing with her own dread. Each note was a dagger, slicing into her resolve. As the echoing taunts shifted into something more cruel, Jenna remained rooted to the spot, her heart racing, pounding with a thunderous insistence. If I own my fear, I can save them, she whispered, half trying to convince herself. But doubts clawed at her mind, and the memory of her children's laughter shattered into the air, replaced by the gnashing cries of the twisted figures before her. Let us see that fear then, they roared, and in unison, they reached out their claw-like hands, grasping at the edges of her sanity. With every motion, her resolve felt more like sand slipping through her fingers. Suddenly, the red light flared brighter, blinding for a moment. She shielded her eyes, When it faded, the figures transformed once more. No longer mockeries of her daughter. They shifted into something different, her deepest fears standing before her. A child alone on a playground, crying. Shadows swallowing a house whole. A phone ringing with silence on the other end. Each vision drove a stake into her heart, sending shockwaves through her body. No, this isn't real. Jenna screamed, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill over. Isn't it? One figure hissed, its voice as cold as the grave. You're the one who abandoned them. The accusation ignited a fire inside her. I did not. I love them, she shouted, her voice echoing off the now warping walls. Then prove it. They lunged, their limbs extended. Jenna pushed back against the rising tide of darkness, her instincts screaming that she couldn't given not now, not ever. Panic knotted in her stomach. She could feel the shadows trying to peel back her layers, to reveal her weakness, her vulnerabilities. The idea of succumbing felt like drowning. Just then, a different part of her whispered, embrace them. If I face you, will you let them go? She asked, her voice trembling but resolute. The figures paused, their malignant expressions intrigued. Face your dominion over your fear, and we may consider. Jenna felt vertigo wash over her. What does that even mean? Become one with us, they cackled, and your children may be spared. Without waiting for her answer, the ground beneath her warped and began to sink. She could see a vast chasm extending below, filled with swirling shadows that whispered her name. Panic clawed at her heart as she felt gravity yank her down. She was falling, spiraling into an abyss fueled by her own darkest thoughts. Mommy! A voice echoed faintly amidst the cacophony. It was Mia. Help! Mia! Jenna screamed, but the sound was laughably weak against the roar of chaos. The chasm opened wider, the whispers amplifying, drowning out all rational thought. Jenna flailed her arms, desperately wishing to escape. Yet, the shadows were unyielding, wrapping tighter around her conscience. And then, an even darker realization dawned upon her amidst her freefall. What if there's more beneath the surface? What if I don't come back? What if this is where I end? Time stretched, and her mind raced faster than her falling body. She could not let the shadows win, not without a fight. As she plummeted further, a flicker of hope ignited in her heart. She would own her fear instead. The chaos around her spiraled violently, threatening to consume her entirely. But could she truly embrace their darkness without losing herself? The void opened wide, and Jenna prepared to collide with shadows, her final stand against what clawed at her from all sides. She shouted defiantly, I will face this nightmare. In the tension-filled seconds before impact, a bone-chilling laugh echoed through the void, and then silence. What awaited Jenna in that suffocating stillness? Jenna floated in a suffocating void, the silence so thick it felt tangible. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears, a solitary drum in the vast emptiness. Time warped, stretching and contracting, her mind racing even as her body felt strangely weightless. She was suspended between fear and the unknown, one breath away from either salvation or doom. A whisper, soft yet dire, coiled around her like smoke. Welcome home, it hissed, echoing with a sinister familiarity. Jenna's stomach twisted. Hadn't she wanted to confront her fears? But this wasn't what she had imagined. A flicker of movement caught her eye. Shadows danced just beyond the edges of her vision, a swirling mass of darkness threatening to ensnare her. She held onto the hope that her children might still be safe, somewhere out of reach. But the shadows transformed, reshaping into the tormenting images she had feared most: the lonely playground, the suffocating silence of an unanswered call, the specter of her own guilt creeping ever closer. Embrace it, Jenna, another voice wafted through the void, almost teasing. It will set you free. No, Jenna shouted, the word tearing from her throat. She resisted the urge to succumb. I won't let you take me. Yet, deep inside, doubt clawed at her heart, whispering that maybe she was already lost. Without warning, the shadows surged forward. They pressed against her, A cold, clammy tide that sought to drown her. Memories flickered through her mind, Mia laughing, Ethan chasing after her. The undeniable warmth of family. With each wave of darkness, the memories felt more like illusions slipping away. Do you see? You cannot save them, hissed a figure, now taking form as a twisted version of herself, eyes hollow, lips curled into a haunting grin. You've always been a failure. No. Jenna's voice shattered in defiance, erupting outward with an energy she didn't know she possessed. She pushed against the shadows, focusing on those precious memories, building a fortress of hope around her heart. Suddenly, light sliced through the darkness, illuminating the twisted apparition. It recoiled, and Jenna seized the moment. You don't define me, she cried. I define myself. I don't need to embrace you, I need to overcome you. The shadows recoiled in backlash, a howling wind erupting from their depths, as if Jenna had struck a nerve. She felt their grip weaken, and with every ounce of her being, she expelled the dread filling the void. A blinding flash ignited as she willed herself to protect her children, charging through the darkness with a new strength. In an instant, the scene shifted. Jenna blinked against a stark white light, and the shadows flickered and writhed, struggling to reform. The laughter of children rang out from somewhere beyond, that familiar sound igniting her heart. Mia, she called, chasing the laughter, her fear melting into purpose. But just as she moved forward, the shadows morphed again, twisting into a new threat. They coalesced into a foreboding figure, a grotesque version of her own silhouette, eyes black as ink, drooping lips stretched into a cruel smile. Your journey is far from over, it rasped, the voice like nails on a chalkboard. This is just the beginning. Jenna froze, her breath hitching. The realization settled like ice in her veins. What do you mean? She demanded, confusion mixing with dread. Before she could react, the figure lunged, and the vibrant light around her began to pulsate, flickering as if in sync with her racing heartbeat. In that blinding moment, Jenna understood there was much more beneath the surface, and she was only scratching the surface of her fears. Face the truth, Jenna. The shadows whispered, their voices mingling in ominous anticipation. Outside the cocoon of light, Jenna felt the hunger of the abyss beckoning her once more, threatening to pull her back into its depths. And deep down, the question gnawed at her. What other horrors awaited her if she fell into their grasp again? With the darkness whispering promises of despair, she knew the battle had truly just begun. Would she gather her strength and fight, or would the shadows consume her whole? The air cracked like ice, tension spiraling around Jenna as she faced the twisted shadows of her fears. The monstrous figure of her own silhouette loomed in front of her, every inch of it exuding an inescapable darkness. But this time, she would not back down. I won't let you, any of you, drag me down, she shouted, her voice breaking the oppressive silence that threatened to suffocate her resolve. The light flickered violently, responding to her defiance. The shadows writhed and twisted, shrieking in outrage as she took a step forward into the brightness pulsing at her heart. You don't own me, she yelled again, feeling the weight of every struggle she had endured. Every moment of fear transformed into fierce strength that spilled out through her fingertips. From the glimmering light, visions of her children burst forth, Ethan and Mia, laughter spilling like a soothing balm, their innocent joy stirring something deep within her. She could not let any darkness snuff out their light. As Jenna pushed through the oppressive gloom, the shadows shrieked and melted away, their voices swirling around her in a cacophony of rage. Her surroundings began to shift, the icy grip of the dark entities loosening as if they were unraveling. Shadows tore themselves apart, releasing fragments of pain and regret into the ether. This isn't the end, the twisted figure hissed, its voice trembling but filled with venomous intent. You cannot simply wish us away. We are a part of you. No, Jenna said, shaking her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're a part of the past that I'm ready to leave behind. With each step she took, she summoned the warmth of her love, the strength of motherhood surging through her, guiding her closer to the flickering light. You will not control me or my children. The monstrous figure lunged, trying to envelop her once more in a veil of darkness. But Jenna raised her hands, glowing with a radiant light. I choose love. I choose them. A burst of brilliance erupted from her heart, pouring forth like a sun breaking through the storms. The shadows recoiled as her love washed over them, dispelling them like mist before the dawn. Mia, Ethan, she called out, her voice echoing through the now brightened corridor, the shadows dissolving into nothingness. The very ground shifted, becoming solid and the air lighter as the hope for her reunion filled the space. Mommy! Their voices rang out in harmonious unison, rising from a different dimension of light beyond the darkness, beckoning her forward. With a determined stride, Jenna raced toward that sound, her heart alight with joy and determination. Suddenly, she burst through a shimmering veil, her children appearing before her, bathed in iridescent light. They stood safely, unharmed but wide-eyed, looking at her with a mixture of joy and relief. Mommy! They cried, rushing into her arms. Their soft forms against her filled her with indescribable warmth. I was so scared, Mia sniffled, clinging tightly to Jenna, her small frame radiating innocence. Me too, Ethan chimed, his eyes shining like stars. But we knew you'd come for us. Holding them tight, Jenna felt a fierce protective fire ignite in her chest. Nothing can ever take you away from me again, she murmured into their hair, all the pain and darkness dissolving into a memory. Promise. But the moment of solace flicked like the light bulbs overhead. In the distance, she could hear the echoes of the shadows' shrieks, haunting and yearning. You think this is over? A voice hissed, thin like paper but laced with icy venom. Yes. Jenna shouted defiantly, stepping closer to her children, shielding them. You are nothing but a wisp of fear. And I am done with you. The shadows began to swirl again, dark and unyielding. But this time they hesitated, as if sensing the power of her conviction. Jenna raised her hand, focusing all her will. You will not return. You have no hold here. Like a searing beam of light cutting through the space, Jenna let her love and fear intertwine, illuminating the once dark recesses of her mind. The shadows shrieked, as they began to unravel into nothingness, consumed by the very light they had sought to extinguish. The echo of their rage faded beyond the horizon, replaced by the laughter of children. Mommy, look, Ethan pointed, as the remnants of the nightmare retreated, and a pure light filled the area, the horizon shifting as the dark clouds faded, revealing their comforting home of Maplewood, blooming with warmth and life. Jenna lowered her hands, breathing slowly, each inhale filling her with love and light. Her children stood by her, radiating innocence and courage. The ties of fear that once bound her had shattered, replaced by bonds forged from love. Let us go home, she said softly, her voice steady and warm, wrapping around her children like a soft embrace. Together, they walked hand in hand, stepping forward into the welcoming light of a new day, leaving the shadows of their past behind them. As she glanced over her shoulder, Jenna felt a deep sense of closure settle over her. She would carry this moment in her heart, a reminder of the battles won, and the love that overcomes fear. Maplewood awaited, vibrant and peaceful. And now, the darkness was nothing more than a whisper in the wind, one she would never listen to again. Don't wait another second. If you're loving this conclusion, you need to subscribe now so you won't miss the next heartbreaking stories we have coming. Smash that like button for the algorithm. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to dive into these tales. Show your support, we can't do this without you.